So if I go back to the story, it hit 1 million views within 12 hours. That was the scary bit. That's proper virality. And then, I did a couple of media spots and, they were quite nice, I will say. They asked me very careful questions and I could already see Rebecca Madden tried to do it. They tried to do a bit of a got ya. Because what they do is they lead you in and then they try and get you to say something anti-lockdown, anti-COVID, anti-the jab. I'm not an idiot, so I'm very careful. And so they basically were trying to lead me down a path. And, Rebecca Madden's question to me on the Today Show was even like, well, you're not a COVID denier. And I'm like, no, Rebecca, I'm not a COVID denier. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could see that they were trying to, like, who are you? Are you anti, and I answered.
It's funny. People look for pigeonholes. It's in their brain. They have this series of pigeonholes and they just want to be able to slot you into one. And that's a really dangerous thing. And we saw how dangerous that was with Daniel Andrews and Setka coming out with this whole, it's a bunch of Nazis type of approach, bunch of right-wing nut jobs. What they're inviting people to do is to open up that little container, shove all of us inside, and then close the container again. It's a very powerful psychological trick for people that want to manipulate you, and it's very important to be aware of it.
What the media, I don't think they failed to do is because I was just this poor little defenseless girl that had a video going viral, I don't think for the first part anyone background checked me to see that I actually have a background in media. I've actually worked for News Limited, so I'm very familiar. I worked in the Herald Sun building for 4 years in South Bank. I've worked in advertising and marketing my whole life. I am rather familiar with their tactics, and which is why I was confident to go on those shows. I wouldn't put myself in that position had I felt not comfortable. Where things sort of started taking a turn is obviously I was very, like, the whole nature of my speech was very anti this lockdown. And very anti the Labor government, which I am, and I stand by that. There's nothing in that video that I said that I don't still stand by. There is one caveat for those of you who may have watched it. I did make a reference to the fact that we had no one in ICU, which at the time was true. So at the time, we had gone back into lockdown, I believe, for 8 cases, 8 asymptomatic cases. And that was our 5th lockdown. So my frustration was over the fact that no one was actually sick at that point. Obviously that didn't date well, but that's the nature of doing a video on the moment. So fast forward a couple of days, and of course people who were anti my sentiments started to speak up. There was a well-known social media agitator, shall we say, that took issue with my stance because I refused to say where I stood on the vaccines. And this person decided or took it upon themselves to just absolutely go to town on me on social media. I didn't engage with them at all. That was the crazy thing. I hadn't spoken to them. We've never even met.
You never mentioned them in your video. You never dragged them into it. They just decided to come from left field and have a go.
And that's, like, before I go into this point, that's something I'd really like to make clear. In my video, I didn't attack anyone. I wasn't rude or demeaning or belittling anyone. I was speaking very candidly about my own personal experience. I don't speak for other people, and I don't position myself to be some kind of advocate. I'm just speaking as Carl's. However, this particular person's whole MO is to destroy people online. They have an outrage-based following. Correct.
Their entire brand is built on outrage.
Yeah, and that's very typical of this sort of SJW wokeism. That's a real sort of symptom of that. And it always comes from an aggressive point of view. It's always about outrage. It's always about trying to find the thing to cancel them on. And the interesting thing is, as someone who's, like, I built my businesses on social media. I've been a social media adopter since it was on, since it started.
You were on social media before it was cool.
Before. I am an original Facebooker. Embarrassing to say, but I am.
Hang on. Are you an original MySpacer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to poke fun at you because I've still got a MySpace, but I can't poke fun at you now.
I'm sure mine's there. I don't know how to get into it, but yes. See, this is the thing. Like, as a creative and as a photographer, I loved the idea of having this, like, platform to sort of shamelessly put my content out. Like, it unfortunately gets mistaken as this like level of narcissism. It's not. Like, as a creator, we aspire to have people commentating on our stuff. So the idea, the very basic principle of social media very much appeals to a creative, you know?
Yeah.
So, sorry.
You as a creative, I mean, you are basically running a business. You can't survive unless there are people that want the thing that you make. So it's not narcissism to be saying, "Hey, everybody, I made a thing. Have a look at it." That's just part and parcel of it.
100%. And you know, like, I won't lie. Like, there's a huge part of my ego that really gets off on people telling me my photos are good or that you know my artwork's good. So, so yeah, I've been on social media since it started.